Hello, we are Sornia. As always, a pleasure and a delight to have this exchange with all of you, that you welcome us and our messages and the sharing time that we have with each other. As you know, because you've been experiencing it firsthand, many of you, the incredible breaking down, I guess you would say, of what you thought was your reality. We spoke of this a few weeks ago with you about the matrix and the tears in the fabric, basically, of the various timelines and how this is all going to increase. So as you're moving through this time period, what we've been seeing from most of you is a sense of joy, but more a sense of excitement and anticipation for what lies ahead. And there are quite a few things that will be, looks like, are ready to be presented to you. Remember, there are always those individuals, those characters that want to distract you from the truth and want to lead you astray and have you believe in something that is, again, another false reality. We'll use that term, false reality, because it feels real, but it's false, right? And you'll see that the efforts to control you in that way will be increasing from different angles. You are going to want to be on your toes for the next few months in your time frame, right? In the way you live with time. You're going to want to be on your toes because things are really, in your world, are going to take on you'll start to see what is truth, whether you ask for it or not. And when you start to see what is truth, what's behind the veils that have been in place, you who hear these messages that are grounded in your knowing of yourself and grounded in your faith and your belief and know these things, you will find it an exciting time, maybe at times a little disturbing, but you will also know that it's all necessary. And you will be called upon, of course, to make sure that those people that are unaware and that are in your close circuit of your community, let's say, that you are there to support them in your best way. Remember, you cannot change the way someone thinks, you know this, but you can be an expression of truth. And that's what we feel each one of you that gets this message is already doing. You are expressions of the truth of who you really are and what your natural state of being is. And that will be what will be the guiding light for so many individuals who will be turning to look for some sort of security. Many of you are also aware of the whole perception of time, right? Time is different. It seems to be moving faster. And how's that possible if time is just a human construct, really? How is it that for so many of you, it feels like time is moving faster? Some of you have said, oh, no, it feels like it's standing still. We've heard that, but primarily we've heard from those of you telling us that time is just flying by like never before. How is that possible? Have you asked yourselves that? Have you been asking the questions necessary to get the necessary answers? Because time really doesn't exist, right? It exists in your clocks, in your different ways of measuring time in that regard. But time is an abstract idea, really. And if you are experiencing the changes that are occurring through your perception of time, that means that you are aware of what is going on in terms of freeing yourself from the entanglements of this third dimensional earthly existence that has kept a lot of you kind of chasing your tails in terms of your own growth. So back to this whole thing about time, and it's not tangible, right? It's not something that you can hold in your hand. It's an idea. So the feelings that all of you are having that time is accelerating is a perception. So it's a universal perception that you are all experiencing. Is that real? Let's put it this way. Is that truth? Is time truth? We want you to think about this. We want you to go deeper with pondering time. You might be saying, why? We already talked about this, Sornia. Why? Because there's more to it than what meets the eye. And it's important for you to understand how that idea, because that idea is energy. So in that way, it's tangible. But knowing that it is something that you do not have to experience any longer is really where we're trying to guide you to free yourselves from having any perception of time. This may be a little bit confusing to you because, again, you go, well, we have day and night and the hours in the day. We're encouraging you to release that, to maybe release is not quite what we mean, but can you look at it from a different perspective? Why? You might be saying, why? Why do we have to do that? Because that distraction of time keeps you in a loop of repeating certain emotional experiences that are subconscious, that are tied into this idea of time. We want you to be observant. An example, you may every day at a certain time of day, you look at the clock and you'll say, oh, this is when I start, this is subconscious, but your subconscious will say, this is when I start to feel a little sluggish, or this is when I start to feel this way or that way. We want you to be observant of this because this is another element of the subconscious that you are working with. But it's vital to your own progression and your own evolution that you understand that what you are perceiving is just an idea. You can still have the experience of time. You will still have the experience of time because you are residing in that environment for now, but not for long. That's the whole idea. You are going in the direction of residing in what we could say is a timeless reality. And you want to be prepared for that, where time doesn't exist. How does that sit with you? Take the next few weeks, days, whatever, and be observant of you in relationship to time. Just you in relationship to time. So that you can be, once again, the master of your own destiny, the master of your own reality. There's so much that awaits you in terms of what you are able to perceive when you are not limited by your perceptions. So we go back to that again. Your perception or perceptions condition and create your reality. So because of that, you want to understand it so that you can say, no, I'm not going to do this, or yes, I'm very willing to do this. Think of it as an opportunity to be in charge, to be, again, the master of your destiny here, or of your journey, not your destiny, master of your journey. It seems a little bit too much master of your destiny, because what's awaiting many of you will begin to experience the tears in the matrix and how the different timelines, if you will, are being exposed and you're able to see them. Many of you have been amazed at what you've been able to see when you've been observant of this. That's one thing. When you aren't trying to figure out what time period this experience is that you're seeing, and you just observe it at a distance, you will get information that will be valuable to you as you are moving forward. The next period of time that you are moving into, again, we have to use that language, but this next phase that you're all stepping into will be very interesting, because it has the opportunity of exposing so much that your imagination isn't even capable of imagining, because it's been held back from you. And you can see things and experience things that you couldn't see and experience before because you were blind to these things. And partly due to this belief in there being time, as you only live a certain amount of time and you only have this amount of time in the day to get things done. All of this, it's hard to put into words. So we're stumbling a little bit in trying to bring this across, but know that you have to go into the experience. That's why we brought it forward. You'll have more clarity when you give yourself that opportunity to be the observer of you and your relationship to time. This is something that you want to do until you get to that point where you see and sense and know what it is that we are unable to put into words right now, because it is an experience. It is not something that can easily be expressed through language, which is another development that many of you are already experiencing, but it's going to increase, is less use of language, more use of your telepathic abilities to communicate with each other. That's going to amplify as you are able to understand this experience of you and time in this reality, and then have just your own understanding of you. You will be able to come back and say, this is what this is all about. Now I understand. And your ability to communicate with another individual without words will increase. It's already, for many of you, it's already pretty frequent, but we want you to know that that will be increasing as you do these exercises as you keep on working on yourselves. So, in terms of your world and what's going on, there's not a lot to laugh about if you just observe it through the eyes of the average person. And not even that anymore. If you believe what is presented to you through your media and just believe that, then you might see the world as being in a very dark and dire place. But if you are able to see it, which we believe those who hear these messages do this, to observe the world from that place of knowing, that place of truth, of your sovereignty. When you are observing the world, you see the chaos. You are able to see the lie behind what is being presented to you. And you're able to decode these subtle messages that are of fear. They're all of fear that are being transmitted to you. And what happens energetically. So we wanted to share this part too, because it's important, because this has had such a positive impact on your world. Is you're watching something, say you're watching your local news and they're showing you people dying and being mistreated, and it's happening. It's without a doubt, it's happening. And you don't let yourself get pulled into the emotion of it, but you observe it. What we've noticed is that you will observe it. Your heart centers are activated by your choice to see the situation through the eyes of the divine. You're not excusing anyone or anything, but you're seeing the situation that's being presented to you through the eyes of the divine, or God, source, however you understand that. But you're observing it that way. So what happens is that negativity, that fear, that energy that is being radiated out hits you, and you take that, and in a moment, truly, snap of the fingers, with that compassion and that higher vision that you have, you transform that energy and you send it right back to those situations that are deeply troubling to you. You can now, we believe, observe these situations in your world, this group here that we are talking to, and we are confident that you will not be contributing to more fear and more anger. Instead, your perception of these various experiences that you are observing through your media, because most of you aren't having these experiences personally. You're having others, but we're talking about these global ones. You transform that energy, and that's what's sent back to the situation, the entire experience. Not so much to the individuals, but to the experience, which is a little bit different. It's a different energy. Why are we telling you this? Because one, to know that you've evolved in your human form to be able to transform and transmute very dense energy, very thick energy. That's what fear is, very dense and very thick, and transform it through just the act of compassion, feeling compassion, looking at it in that way. And it also says how much you have evolved, which is incredible. Most of you don't give yourselves credit for how much you have done. And we have to come in every now and then and tell you how well you're doing, and that you're not just doing it for yourselves, but you're doing it for everyone. So things are going to be quite interesting as you move through your warmer months. And you'll actually experience and see those certain events that we have been talking about. You'll experience them. A lot of you are starting to have clearer vision with the beings that are protecting your planet. You call them aliens, right? But a lot of you are having interactions with the beings on these spaceships, if you will, that encircle your planet, which is the last thing we want to talk to you about. If you haven't, don't worry, you have in some way interacted. Most of you have been to the spaceships, and they are in greater number than before. They're in large numbers. The reason being is that this next phase that humanity and Earth and everything and everyone on Earth is going to go through has earned the assistance of the benevolent beings that are just waiting to assist, not just in theory or the idea of them, but they're actually going to be present. And many of you are already experiencing, seeing them, remembering seeing them, we should say. Your memories aren't being wiped clean like they were before. And yes, there are beings out there that are up to no good. There always are, always will be. But that's part of the game. You're stronger than they are, and you know that now. So there's not even any reason to discuss that. So this is kind of what we had to share with you today. Nothing too drastic or new. We want you to know how much we value everything that you're doing and the amount of, or the degree of dedication and courage that it takes to keep doing what you're all doing. But I'll tell you, each one of you has elevated your consciousness to such a degree that you wouldn't even be able to recognize who you were before. Your heart centers are radiating out that divine love for everyone, that compassion, and it's working. It has to work. It's such a powerful force, and you all know that, and you've been using it, and all it takes is a few to turn the tide. And that's what's been happening from everything that you have all done and will continue to do. So we want to thank you. As always, thank each one of you. Because without you, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. So that's all for now. We love you very much. We are Sornia. Goodbye.